here's what's in your box. You have 2 templates, pair of scissors, permanent marker, some thread, a needle. You have a piece of black felt that is white on one side, a piece of cream felt, 2 pieces of orange felt, and 1 bag o' stuffing. To start, we're going to cut out all of the pieces from our templates. Make sure to cut out on the dotted lines. You also have 6 of these little clips. All right, you're gonna start by taking your body template and your tail template and your 2 pieces of orange felt. You're going to take your body template and put it up into the corner of one of the pieces of felt. Basically, you want to get the most out of the felt as you can. And since we are going to also be cutting a tail, we just want to make sure we leave enough felt for both. So you can just keep your template just like that. Take your pen and you're just going to hold it down. Hold down the template and just carefully trace around the shape of the fox's body. You don't have to press hard or anything. Just really carefully try to do it right on the edge. All right. Now you can do the same with the tail. Try to hold the template with one hand and trace with the other if you can. That way the template won't move around while you're trying to trace it. Okay, now for the second piece of felt, and this is important, we're going to take the body template again, and we're going to turn it face down before we trace it. Now you're going to cut everything out. All right, we're gonna put these aside for a moment. We're gonna take our cream colored felt and we're gonna take our other pieces, the fox's face, the belly, the inner ears, and the tip of the tail. And we're gonna do the same tracing and then cutting out. Okay, now that we have all of our little pieces cut, not including the face, but our cream pieces, our body pieces, and our tail, we're going to put aside everything except for the 2 body pieces. We're just gonna work with them for now. Okay, We have our two body pieces, and what we want to do is we want to put them on top of each other, and we want to make sure that the black line is facing us. So this black line we can see, and this black line we can see. That is because when we're done sewing, we're gonna turn it inside out and then you won't see the black lines. So go ahead and just line them up as best as you can. And you're gonna take your little clips and you're going to clip it together. I would say one on each ear. One on the sort of top side here. And then one each on the bottom side. We are almost ready to start sewing, but first we need to take our marker and we need to mark 2 lines on the bottom of the fox body to show where we're not going to sew it. We're going to leave it open so that we can turn it inside out and then stuff it. So a very good rule of thumb is to take 4 fingers and just mark on the outside of your 4 fingers like that. That's the perfect amount of space that we're going to leave open and not sew it so that we can turn it and stuff it. Okay, we're gonna go through threading a needle. So you have a needle in your box and it's going to be in a little piece of felt, and you're really gonna wanna keep track of your needle. Every time you're not using it, keep it, put it back into that piece of felt. That is a really good way to keep track of it. Or if you have a pin cushion, you can keep it in the pin cushion, but it is extremely easy to lose track of these tiny needles. So when you're not using it, keep it right in that felt and then you'll always know where it is. You're going to take your thread and you're going to pull out from your fingertip to your shoulder. That is the length of thread that you're going to start with. Again, fingertip to shoulder, you're gonna cut it, and then you're gonna thread it through the tip of the needle. What I do, pretty old school, is I lick the tip and I push it through. I did give you guys needles that have a pretty big eye hole so that it's pretty easy to thread it. So once you thread it, also if you're having trouble threading it and the licking isn't helping, if you give it another really clean snip, that will also help to get it to go through. You shouldn't have too much of a problem. You're gonna pull it through so that you have a double strand. Double strand of thread on your needle. Pull the ends together and you have a loop that goes through, and then you have your ends, and we're going to make some knots at the ends. Just a couple words about sewing is that you really don't want to start off with your thread any longer than this, because it really cuts down on frustration in getting a lot of knots while you're sewing. If you get a lot of knots while you're sewing, it's really frustrating. Stopping, starting can be extremely frustrating, especially for kids. So that is why we always start with a shorter string than longer. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna sew, and then we're gonna fill our thread again and continue to sew. So you'll probably fill it 2 to 3 times. You can see that that permanent marker does get on your hands quite a bit while you're tracing. Okay, so what I do to make a knot is I take the 2 ends, loop it around 2 of my fingers, tuck those ends right through that loop, and pull. And what we're gonna do is try to make a large knot on the end. So I try to make 3 knots right on top of each other. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That time it worked, So I got 2 on top of each other, and I'm gonna go for a third. If you don't get them right on top of each other, just keep making knots until you get a nice clump of knots. That actually ended up being 3 right on top of each other. That never happens, but it just did. So now you have your needle threaded and your knot, and we are ready to sew. For this project, we're going to do a stitch called the whip stitch. It's a very, very common sewing stitch. So we're gonna take our needle and we're gonna take our box and we're going to start on one of these lines. It doesn't matter which one. And we're gonna sew all the way around and we're gonna stop at that line. So for the whip stitch, I'm going to push your needle through. Make sure you're pushing it through both pieces of the fabric. And for this first stitch, we're going to just pull it until it stops, because that knot is nice and big and it's gonna stop, and that's what we want. Then we're gonna come back around, and again, we're gonna go up from the bottom to the top, making sure we're going through both pieces of fabric. Pull slowly, because we don't want to get knots. If we go too fast, sometimes you can get knots. And literally, we're going to keep doing that same exact stitch all the way around the fox. And I'm going to do it a few more times so you can see. And I do like to pull it kind of tight when I get to the end. Under the bottom, through both pieces, and pull. Under the bottom, through both pieces of fabric, and pull. And what you are looking for here is you want to make your stitches close together and also close to the edge. Up from the bottom, push up, and pull. And I just learned that the reason why it's called the whip stitch, I don't know if this is true or not, but because when you put your stitch through, then you whip it around and come right back. Do you think that's true? I have no idea. So stitches are close together and they're close to the edge, and I pull it pretty tight when I get it through. This is going to ensure that you have a really nice seam and that your fox will stay together and it won't have holes, and the stuffing won't fall out, which we like. If you know any other stitches, you could do those too. Like a blanket stitch would be great. You could even do a tiny running stitch, or a back stitch would be even better. But I've been doing this project a lot and I really like it with this running stitch. So hopefully you're getting this through the bottom to the top. Pull and keep going. I'm gonna speed this up for you guys so you don't have to sit and watch me sew this entire fox together, but what I will do is stop when it's time to change the thread to show you how to do that. Here is one important thing that I want to go over. When you are getting to the end of your thread, which I am, you want to make sure that you leave a tail at least as long as this, which is about 5 or 6 inches, because you need to make a knot to stop. And if it's too short, you can't make a knot. So definitely leave about 5 or 6 inches when you're coming to the end of your thread before we start a new one, which is what we're gonna do right now. So to make a knot, you're going to just pretend like you're making that same stitch we've been making. And instead of pulling it all the way through, you're gonna take your needle, put it right through that loop and pull, and you have made a knot. And I'm gonna show you that again. Just pretend you're making a regular whip stitch, pull your needle through, but not all the way through, and you will have a loop. Put your needle through the loop and pull, and you have a knot. Now you can clip your thread, leave a little tail, and we are going to do the same exact thing. We're going to thread our needle with the same amount of thread that we did before. An arm's length is good. Thread that needle, make some more knots, and keep going. You also may have noticed that as I'm sewing, I'm just moving the clips along as I go. So when I get to the clip, I usually just move it up a little and keep going, and then I take it off when I get to the other clip. All right, we went all the way around. I knotted my thread right here at the other line, and I cut off my needle and thread, and then I put my needle inside my piece of felt because I want to make sure I keep track of the needle. We are going to do a tiny bit more sewing, but let's definitely keep track of where we are keeping our needle. Okay, we're going to turn this guy inside out, and we are going to get ready to stuff him or her. You want to make sure that you really poke your fingers up into those ears to make sure that they really pop out. And there you have your adorable fox body, which is ready to stuff. I'm going to do that right now. Okay. You're going to take your bag of fluff, and we do this just a little bit at a time. So just take a little bit out, and the first thing you want to do is get the stuffing up into those ears. And the way that I do that is just put a little bit in, push it up into the tip of the ear, use my finger. If it's tough to get it up there, you can actually just use the end of your pen and push it up. That also works. But for now, I'm just going to use my fingers, get those ears nice and stuffed. That's a really good amount for one ear. And I'm going to do the other. And we're going to just do the same thing with the whole body. We just want to do it a little bit at a time. We don't want to try to stuff it all in there at once. Those ears are looking good. And we also want to use more stuffing than you think you need. So now you can move to a little bit bigger pieces. You really just want to make it nice and cozy and plush. All right, we have a nice stuffy fox. Now we are going to do a little tiny bit more sewing. Don't worry, just a little. We're gonna just really stuff that stuffing in there, and we're gonna take a few of our clips and clip the bottom together. Just try to make it nice and even. And then we're going to take our needle and thread. You might need to load it up again. I have mine ready and knotted and ready to just sew right across that bottom. All right, now we have one stuffed fox body, and you can kind of just mush the stuffing around a little bit in there, but we are ready to put our finishing touches on. The sewing definitely takes the longest, but if you're nice and careful, then you will have a really nice edge and seam, and you won't have any holes, and you won't have any stuffing poking through, and it'll last a really long time. All right, let's get to the next part. So you're gonna take your tail and your little face, your belly, your tip of the tail, and your ear insides. And I forgot to mention earlier that in your box you also have a glue pen. All right, so let's start with our tail, because we want to glue the tip on the tail before we put it onto the fox. So we want to make sure that anytime we see any black marker, that's going to go face down. We don't want to see this black marker because it just doesn't look nice. So we're going to take our tail face down, marker down, and our little tip of the tail, marker side down. Take our glue pen, put some glue. This glue pen is acting up on me. Come on, glue pen. All right, well, glue pen is behaving badly. I'm gonna just put some of this glue on the tip of the tail, and I'm gonna glue it right onto the tail, and just let that sit to the side for a minute or two while I'm gluing the other pieces onto the fox. This glue is great. It's tacky glue. It dries clear. It just is really good. It's not as watery as other glue, and it just really sticks really well. So we can take the little ear triangles. You can kind of put them on here and see where you like them to go. Cute. I'm gonna go ahead and glue them on. Just do a little bit of glue. You can kind of use the tip to spread it out on the felt also. Okay. I'm gonna do I guess I'll do the face first, the mask. I'm gonna try to put just a little bit around the edge. Lay this down, just press it on. It's really good glue, it will stick. If you get a little schmear, you can just wipe it off. And again, you can see how I put the face on with the marker face down. It just looks so much nicer. Now I'm gonna do the belly. before I do the tail, because the belly does actually sit underneath the tail. There's the cute belly. And now we can put on the tail. Just kind of see where you want it. Kind of like it at the bottom like that. Give that some glue. I'll show you how to do the face and we'll be done. Can you believe it? I actually took the little skinny tip off of the glue pen because mine wasn't wanting to come out, but so if you want to do that you can, but you don't have to. All right, tail. OMG. So cute. We're almost done. All right, now we're gonna work on the face, the final details. So basically, this face that came with your template is kind of a suggestion. You don't have to use this face. You can make your own face. It's awesome if you do that. I happen to really love this cute closed eye thing, so that's how I always make my eyes, but you don't have to do that. You have this piece of black felt in your box, and it's got a white side and a black side. The white side is paper, and it's actually magical. It is a sticker, and this stuff is amazing. I use it all the time, and it just is super, and it sticks really, really well, so don't worry about it coming off. So what I do is I draw on the white side with my pen, whatever face I want to make. And you just want to make sure that you are using lines that are nice and thick, because that just makes it a lot easier to cut out. So you want to make a nice thick line to cut out, and once you cut it out, you can then peel the paper off the back and stick it right onto the face. So I will show you. Okay, so there's my eyes, and then the nose, you know, I just want it to be kind of a triangular shape. I don't need to color it in, but I don't know why I did that. And then for this part, the little smile, I can just make a line for the middle, and then for the smile, make a curve. But again, I'm just using really thick lines because when you cut it out, it just makes it a lot easier. All right, so I will show you what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna cut out one of these eyes. You have a nice big piece of felt, so you can, you know, draw a few different faces, figure out which one you like. Okay. It really looks like a big U, doesn't it? Letter U. I'm gonna go ahead, cut that out, and now I will place it on my Fox, and I'm really liking it. So I'm going to go ahead and peel off the back, which is a sticker. Takes a minute sometimes because I have really short nails. Just peel off the sticker part, and then I'm going to go ahead and just stick it right on the face. And check it out. Isn't that cool? So cool, right? Okay, I'm gonna do the rest and I'll be right back. All right, you guys. Seriously? I mean, can you even? How freaking cute is this fox? I also happen to have another one right over here. This was my original sample. And I found an old piece of fabric and I tied it around the fox's neck so the fox could have a scarf. Oh my God. So cute, right? Look, they're friends. And I made some lines on the fox's head, which also I think looks extra cute. So I want you guys to be creative. I want you to make your fox look exactly how you want it to look. You have some leftover supplies. You have some scraps of felt. You have a needle. You have thread. You have scissors. You have more black felt. You have stuffing. What else can you come up with? What if you make a baby fox to go with your grown-up fox? Or even something else. I don't know. Be creative. I want to see what you come up with. Thank you so much. I hope that you had fun today. Please, please, please tag us in your creations on social media at the Craft Salon, at BFPLNY. I really, really would love to see what you make. Thanks and bye.